Good morning. Welcome to this edition of the Richard Irvin Show. I'm your host, Richard Irvin. Coming to you from historic Harper's Ferry. We bring you news and views from God's point of view. Today, we're very happy to have Mary Ann Claytor on. She's running for auditor of West Virginia. So please introduce yourself.
Oh, well, my name's Mary Ann Claytor, and I'm the Democratic candidate for West Virginia State Auditor, and happen to be the only candidate running for state auditor actually has an accounting degree. 22 years of experience as a real auditor and 30 years experience in governmental accounting. And I'm just, so happy that you've asked me, to come on. So that everybody can get to know our candidates.
Absolutely. So did you work for the state auditor's office, or where did you get your experience?
I worked for the West Virginia State Auditor's Office. I resigned in 2014 because my son became paralyzed from the neck down.
Oh, wow.
And I made the decision that to take off so that I could take care of him. And during that time, though, I started my own business and doing financial statements for local governments. But he passed away in January after a long battle. But we were able to take care of him at home, and that's something I'm very proud that the Lord gave us that ability and the knowledge that we needed under the circumstances, so that we could spend as much quality time as we could and not have to put him in a facility. And that was the main reason that I left the auditor's office, because I didn't want to place him into a facility.
Okay. Wow. That's beautiful. You could do the care from like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so about what we mentioned, you mentioned you've been an auditor for a while. Do you have other qualifications you want to talk about before we get into some other questions?
Well, I have characteristics that really don't have anything to do with being auditor. I mean, I'm a preacher. I do prison ministry and nursing home ministry, which I haven't been able to do at this time. I have a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with a concentration in accounting, and I have a master's degree is in religion. Um,
Okay.
I,
Well, no, those are important things. You need a lot of integrity as auditor, right?
yeah.
I think you do.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I was looking into some of the things, preparing for the program about the some of the like West Virginia programs, like the Mountaineer and the WV checkbook, things I hadn't really paid attention to, which I need to. About and also like the purchasing card program. I noticed that was on the state auditor's site. Could you what's the purpose of that? Is that a good program? The purchasing card program?
So, Mr. Gaynor, who was the former auditor, he started. So we have the state program, and we also have a local government program, and it has cut down on paperwork because they're able to make their purchases instead of issuing checks. But you got to make sure you have controls, and you got to make sure you have oversight in those areas. And one of the things that uh, a part of our fraud section, what they used to do was to do audits of those P card transactions. We have, oversight within the office where they're just kind of, looking at those things. But it's different than when you actually go out to look at the backup that's associated with a transaction that came through. Because, Walmart, if you might see a transaction comes through from Walmart. Well, that may be an okay transaction. Maybe they had to get some supplies or something. But if you actually go and you look at the invoice, then you would see that, oh, they didn't really buy supplies, they bought something else, so you still need those eyes on actual supporting documentation. And I haven't been able to find, since I left, on the website. We used to always post those audits of those P card transactions online. And I'm a type of person that I won't say, oh, this has definitely not been done, and I'm not a tacky, I have to look at myself in the mirror. Yeah, I lay out the facts and deficiencies, and that's the type of person that I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I run my campaign. That's the way that I would like to see everybody across West Virginia, United States run their campaigns, so we can like really talk about the issues and, talk about deficiencies that are going on in our government by not attacking a person's character. You know what
Now,
I'm
I hear
saying?
you. So with the purchasing card, or you call it a P card, I guess,
Oh, yeah.
then, so you're saying that like, if you use the check system, then they would automatically see the invoice, or not necessarily? Whereas with a purchasing card, you might just see, oh, Walmart, $200, or that's not true. Is there, in other
No.
words, is there more detail with the old system, or is something lacking, like you say, maybe the new system, or what?
As far as transparency and knowing what people spent money for and actually seeing an invoice, we are still lacking in that. And that is something that I would like to institute, is that we shouldn't have to have our citizens do FOIAs to see what an actual expenditure consisted of, other than, you can see the description. And plus, we spent hundreds of millions of dollars on the West Virginia OASIS program, and we need to hold those companies accountable for products that our citizens are purchasing. Because this is what we have to realize as citizens, is that we are purchasing these products, even though we haven't gave, the approval for purchasing these products, but it is our money. So
That's
we have a
true.
right to know. So one of the things I would like to do within the West Virginia OASIS is try to confine some of the attributes of the checkbook with the OASIS, because it is better if we have a centralized accounting systems, and that the information that we are able to use the source information system to the best of its ability, instead of extracting data and putting it into another program for people to see. If you
Which it
kind of
sounds like
understand that.
that's what the checkbook thing is, right? Or is that
Yes,
like
it's
a
kind of
third
extracts
system?
the data.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it
what is
extracts
the
the data from
Oasis? I
another.
don't know what the Oasis is. Can you tell us?
Okay, so I think that started, I was already gone when they really got it going. And what some people may have known, okay, before we had this Vista program where you can go and look up the expenditures, and then they decided we had all these different financial accounting systems that different organizations, agencies were using. So they decided they wanted to do something centralized, which I believe, is, a positive move. We just need to go further with it and making it more transparent. So that program, I can't think of what the name of it said, with the with the acronym, I can't think right off. That's kind of what's funny, is when you get used to the acronym, then you forget what it actually stands for.
Okay.
So I can't
So it's a
remember
more
what
centralized accounting. All right.
yeah, it's like a
Well,
centralized accounting system.
and that's like, yeah, I was reading up about the Mountaineer and the WB checkbook. One thing I noticed, because I'm interested in, local issues. I'm over here in Jefferson County, and they're not yet on this. The county, it says it's awaiting data for the checkbook program. Do you know anything about that? I see 12 counties have some data available, and the rest, are online, and the rest aren't. It says Jefferson is awaiting data. Can you give us any insight into what that means?
See what, and I would have taken a different approach on this too. Okay, so your information is only the transparency that we're seeing from local governments. It's only as good as the accounting records that are underneath. And like I had told you before, everybody has their own accounting system in local governments. Primarily in I'm not for sure in Jefferson if they have CSSI, which is a company, or software systems. But mainly there's those main two primary ones. I would have probably taken a different approach in working with those software companies to say this is something that we would like to do, so that entities can put their information out on their websites. The West Virginia Associations of Counties set up a basic website for each county. Also for those who don't have that, it just has some basic information, contact information. But most counties that can't afford, a website, they have a website that they're active with, and also they're required to publish financial statements with the vendor information. So we already have some transparency at that level. It's extra work for the county clerks to extract this data out of their system in order for them to upload that into the Mountaineer checkbook. So that may be the issue that they're having. Some decided that they left it up to their county clerks, where in a lot of places they are already low on staff. So you're thinking, okay, anybody that wants this information, they will give it to them. And with West Virginia, everybody doesn't have internet, so everybody's not going to be able to access it anyway. We need, that's why they publish them in their newspapers that the local people generally use, so that they can see that information.
Yeah,
So I concept of both of them working together is,
I
a good
see.
idea.
Okay, so there might be a something issue of
Mhm.
some extra work there. So I was looking for I looked at Berkeley County, which is online, and
Okay.
I couldn't find a Board of Education. Is that a whole different thing than the county?
That's a separate entity. So we have, Board of Education. The Board of Education has their own system too. and the thing about the Board of Education is they all boards of education have the same system. So in that capacity, we could have worked with them to develop something where they could, publish, online if we want it to be online.
So is there
So
is there any plan to get that into the checkbook, or that's just excluded, the Board of Education?
So it's up to each entity to provide that information. So everybody, people would have to talk to them. And like I said, I don't know if it's such a big concern for our citizens. I really don't, because if you're local to that area, you understand, every year they see that they've published the vendors.
Yeah. Well, over
what they're
here we're
getting
having a
paid.
controversy right now. We've got this mega tax called the school excess levy, which is 3 times the regular property tax. And personally, yeah, that's really too much. Anyway, so recently, before the one new school board member came on, they decided at the school board meeting to give everybody, not everybody, I think all the administrative staff, not the teachers, raises. And still, as far as I know, 2 months later, they still haven't disclosed every single one of who got what. Would that kind of thing be helped by a more transparent system? Because we're definitely having, or is that not the purview of the kind of system we're talking about?
I haven't looked at the individual because I have other ways to get my information on the Mountaineer, because the Mountaineer is the one that has to do with the local governments. And I would be very shocked if you would get the payroll information, because they set some rules, I forget when it was, about even the publishing. They could do them in aggregate numbers.
Oh, they'll just say payroll 3 million, but they won't say what it's actually for.
They can break it down.
That makes some sense, but they should disclose that.
But some people, the paper will work a arrangement out where they'll say, if you go ahead and publish everybody's individual names that's related to payroll, we won't charge you for that cost. And I haven't seen any that say, oh, well, no, we're not going to, they usually go ahead and provide it.
I see. Okay,
So,
I'm
but I'd
trying to.
have to check so when you looked at other counties, um, did you see payroll information in the Mountaineer checkbook? Because see, usually
I
that's
didn't
coming
look
from the
real closely. I was
vendors.
just looking for the school board and noticed it wasn't there. I didn't notice payroll right offhand. It might have. I saw a lot of things like chunks of money for health care and things like that, but I didn't see a lot of detail. I mean, maybe I don't know how to use that site well. I mean, for a new person, it didn't seem like the easiest thing to figure out. But I mean, you can click on the chart and you see, oh, they spent 250,000 for health insurance. That's about the detail you get. You know what I mean? I think.
That's one of my complaints is that I've had is that our system needs to be user friendly.
Mm-hmm.
uh, the West Virginia Oasis, the West Virginia checkbook, all that needs to be more user friendly. We need to have a redesign of our website so that citizens can find information more quickly. And also to what I would like to do is kind of regionalize it. You would still be able to see other areas, but sometimes you might want to just see your area. Like what you're mainly talking about is what's going on in the Eastern Panhandle. So you would be able to put your zip code in and information about the budget, all of those type of things, the financial statements, um, the audit reports, all of that stuff will be easily accessible. And then you don't have to be an accountant to use it. Because I had this same issue because I was sitting there thinking, I know where things are. And I've had somebody, especially with the CARES money, ask me questions about that. And I'd go to look and I would think, you know, on things that I have a little bit of trouble with, I'm sitting there thinking, probably the average citizen's probably having, more difficulty than I am because I'm used to navigating and looking, for
Right.
financial information. So that is
Okay.
something that we need to fix. And another thing about local governments is that they generally have a different system for payroll than they have for vendor information. And I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't feel like what people were looking for. Not that they were trying to hide any information, but they were probably thinking most people are concerned about those vendors and the people that were paying for services, and not so much thinking about the payroll probably
Well, it
aspect.
does seem to be more geared toward vendors because I think the default view, the first thing that pops up is like they have pre-checked vendors. Yeah, payroll, I guess it's more sensitive. They don't really say. But for taxpayers, like, you know, it, I don't know. To me, it's quite an issue. I'm definitely going to be talking about it more as election comes up because we got this
Mm-hmm.
mega tax on the so-called, I call it a mega tax, on the ballot that's, costing us 3 and 4 times the regular property tax. And then here they are voting themselves these pay raises, like some people didn't even know they got or I guess it's a bonus. Like they got $20,000 bonus. Well, heck, some workers, that's how much they get in a year, if you're doing manual labor, whatever. What the heck? You know what I mean?
Yeah, one of my things is I feel like the people at the bottom that are actually doing work, if you're in a position that can turn over, every so many years based on administration and not have the other person train you for a period of time, sometimes I wonder about the need of those types of things. That's just me. I'm more concerned about who is physically doing the work and producing that work for us, that they need to be properly compensated, and these political positions that just, go
Yeah,
based on who's in
that's a good
control.
point.
I get
So that would kind of
frustrated.
segue into, like, how would you encourage, as auditor, how would you encourage being less wasteful? One thing someone's telling me who's in the federal government that, like, he works, I think, in the patent office, say they had a budget, say it was $20 million or something, and then the fiscal year is ending, he said, well, if they find out, oh gosh, we got 3 million left, instead of saying, oh, hey, why don't we cut our budget 3 million, they'll try to use it up for something. I mean, not maybe illegal, but it seems kind of, do you know what I'm saying? How would you encourage, like, when the right thing to do would be saying, oh gosh, we could save taxpayers 3 million. Hey, we'll tell them we don't need so much money next year. But apparently what happens, he tells me, and you would know this better being auditor, they try to use it up or something so they'll get the same amount next year. Could you talk about that kind of thing?
Yes, they have a mindset that if I don't spend it, they're not going to give it back to me next year. So, yes, I have. I've seen people buy a whole bunch of pens and pencils, and it's not illegal. And I have always been a type of person when I audited, I would ask questions about things that I thought was unusual because it's hard. Everybody has a different definition of waste. So the this auditor really doesn't have power to stop waste in the sense of saying you can't buy that. Now what they can do is shed a light. And that's basically what we do. And so as your next auditor, one of the approaches that I will take too at the state level is a lot of times we don't hear about things until something gets leaked. I think it's the auditor's responsibility that if there is something that comes up a little extravagant, maybe don't pick about things, but if it's something that is, okay, like the couch thing, that.
Oh yeah, the Supreme Court justices, right?
Yeah, so things like that, I feel like we need to let the public be aware and leave it up to the public to have the outcry that we need to do to get the changes made. Because I always told people when I was auditing, I would ask them questions. So they were a little more weary about making certain purchases because I was asking, and I would always say, if you do not feel comfortable going in front of a public meeting and asking to purchase these items, let that be your litmus test to not purchase it or to purchase it. If you feel comfortable, that everybody is going to know about this purchase, then make it. But our hands are tied by the laws and regulations of the state of West Virginia and federal as far as our stopping a payment. You see,
Right.
and this is one thing I will tell you: I will not lie to anybody to get their vote, to let them think that I have more power than I have to be able to stop a purchase that's because the purchase is legal. Extravagant, yes, but it's legal.
So more transparency would be, I think, what you're saying. Hey, this is somebody purchased a couch for $20,000 the last week of the fiscal year, or whatever,
Yeah. And it's up to we as citizens, we have the power. They may want to make us believe that we don't, but we have the power through our votes and through our voices, throughout the year, because we tend to, and I know we are all so busy with our lives and the things that are going on in our lives that we don't always pay attention. But we have got to get to the point that, we do pay more attention and try to get more involved in what's going on in our government so that we can stop it before it gets too out of hand.
I think so. I think this whole, here, to me, that's a huge issue. The school tax thing, it was passed like in December 5 years ago. Like less than 2,000 people voted for this mega tax. And like it literally jacks up your property tax like 4 times, like 3 times. So if say I owed $1,000 of property tax, well now because the school tax is 3,000, and I think it's incredibly, So this year though, a lot of people will be voting. It will be on the November ballot. But I think that exemplifies the point. A lot of people were asleep at the wheel when that thing went through. But I think now they're probably more awake with the huge tax bills we've been getting here in property tax in Jefferson County.
Well, it's the same thing with the road bond, because that was I can't remember the numbers, but it was very low voter turnout. That's what makes people have to understand that you're letting a small number of people determine the outcome of government by your staying home and not voting.
Right.
Just I wasn't really for the road bond because I'm not for taxation that increases to our most vulnerable, because the workers, they had to pay more, because West Virginia, our demographics is you know, it's different than other places. So, you know, you have people that are, you know, making minimum wage, barely able to take care of their families, and now you got to pay more to get to work. And then we saw, you know, it's supposed to be on lightning speed. You know, we need this bond so that we can get the roads fixed at lightning speed. And
Oh
then
yeah.
we didn't get lightning speed to 6, and we're using COVID money for that, which is suspect. You know, not really that we're using that bond money, and then I didn't go back in the
COVID money for
session
what are you referring
to,
to? For
well,
roads?
yeah, did you not hear about him and the
Sorry, I
the
missed that.
governor has,
Tell us about that real quick.
oh my goodness, the governor decided we have some COVID highways, and so he's going to use the CARES Act money to fix the roads, which he's already started in Greenbrier County.
Oh,
And
Greenbrier, what a coincidence. Mr. with his resort there. Anyway, go ahead. As you can tell, I'm
well,
not a big fan of Mr. Justice, but go ahead.
well, I believe we need, you know, and when the bond went through, you know, he was a Democrat at that time, and I spoke out because I said, you know, I'm not for regressive taxes, and that's what people need to know about me is I'm not just talking about this COVID money because I'm a Democrat and he's not a Republican. I would have talked about it anyway because that's the type of person I am. I don't care
That's
who's
right.
in party. Wrong is wrong. Right is right. You know, no matter who it is. And you know, because I'm getting a little tired of, you know, we're silent when it's on our team, and we're
No,
vocal when
I
it's
agree
not
with
on
you.
our
Both
team.
parties play a lot of those good old boy or good old girl, whatever they are, politics, you know.
Yeah, so I don't like that. But you know, U.S. Treasury he put out some guidelines about this CARES money, and there is one of the questions relates to improvements that you might make that will bring economic development, capital improvements, and it says generally no, but you can use that money to do like temporary medical facilities, because this is supposed to be related to the CARES. Our road problem isn't related to
Right.
CARES. You know,
The
we
Fed
already have.
should blow the whistle on that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't care if he's a Republican, Democrat. I mean,
right.
myself, I'm independent, but you
Oh,
know, I'm not, or so-called non-affiliated. But
okay.
seriously, you know, yeah, I agree with that. Well, probably covered a lot of things. Why should the voters vote for you instead of Mr. McCuskey? What would differentiate you?
Well, I we have got to get to a point where we realize that we deserve the best that is available. And we have to start thinking of these positions that we are hiring someone. And in your personal life, would you hire as an auditor a lawyer with a political communications degree, or would you hire someone who's actually been an auditor that has accounting experience, has accounting degree? Because we are the employers. It is our money that pays those salaries. And I know we don't always, you know, we argue a lot about the quality of candidates that we get. And when I first started talking about qualifications, people were like, well, no, I don't care about that. But I have not ran across one person that I have talked to when I tell them about our distinct differences in education that won't say, you know, that is right. That shouldn't have anything to do with party. It should do with the qualifications of a person. But, you know, someone like me doesn't always have the funds, the political clout that is necessary to be able to get the message out. So people don't even know that I exist, pretty much. You know, it's just, oh, that bad Democrat's running for office or something, or, you know what I'm saying? Or,
Yeah. So why is the auditor? I know there are other positions that's like the
mhm.
judgeships were changed to nonpartisan, whether they really are or not, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to ask is, should the auditor be a nonpartisan position? Why is it a partisan position? You know what I mean?
I have no idea why it is a part. partisan position. But judges, like you said, they used to be a partisan position. And at some point, someone decided not to. But you know what I've discovered in these last elections is, although we do mark them as nonpartisan, we will know who they are based on attending meetings, based on the ads that get ran. They're
Yeah,
not
or they
keeping
might
it
have
a
been a
secret.
legislator before, and then obviously they had a party, whatever.
Yeah, but even in the advertising, it's like they're sending a message to us which party they're associated with, even maybe subliminally, or you can just look and say, whoever paid for that ad, you can, discern
Right.
what party the person is from. So I am for us being independent, but I just don't think the way our political system is designed, especially when it comes to campaign finance laws, that I think that party influence is still going to be, they're going to try to influence it as much as they can, based on which way the wind is blowing.
Mm.
Is it blowing towards the Republicans, or is it blowing towards the Democrats? It's always going to be manipulated in some fashion.
Mm.
So I don't know if we
Okay.
will get that impartiality that we would desire as citizens.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on today. Any closing thoughts? Anything you just want to share in closing?
And I did want to mention that the auditor is the official bookkeeper for West Virginia, also the supervisor of public offices. And in that capacity, in the state level, is where we are responsible for the expenditures that go out, making sure they're in compliance. And then the local governments, we're responsible for audits of those local governments. So when we were talking about the school board, county commissions, all the elected officials within those offices. And we're also responsible for approving the budgets of local governments. We have a lot more duties that we do in regards to local governments than we actually do, with the state level. And currently, the audits are further behind under the current auditor. When you compare when the former auditor went out, if you just look at the county governments, it was 11% behind, and now it's that was like in 2016. If you look at 2014, he was about 11% behind. He
Okay.
always had a problem with the municipalities, though. But with the current auditor, it is now like about 45% behind in that one category. We have different,
The
entity
category
types.
being counties.
Yeah, in 2018, yes. And so if you look at the 2018, so we need to be able to get in there and get those audits done. He does a lot. Like, I'm more proactive than I believe he is, and that's the difference I want people to understand, because one of my goals is that I will have visited within my first 4 years each entity that we audit, and that to assess accounting needs, because getting full transparency that only as good as the underlying record. So we need to be able to go in there and talk to the entities based on the resources that they have available, so we can get everybody's books up to par. And my having the knowledge that I have, I won't have to send staff in to do that. I will be able to, assess those needs and talk to people and understand what they're talking about. I think that's the big thing. It's not to have somebody sitting beside you as a staff member because you don't understand the accounting information, which that's something that I've garnered over, through my education and through all the experience that I have. And so that's one of the main reasons that I'm running for auditor, because it's about fixing the things that I know that need to be improved so that we all can work efficiently for the citizens, because that is what it's about. I'm a citizen, just because you run for office doesn't make you no longer be a citizen and have concerns. So, and that people will be able to talk to me, express their concerns. And I'm the type of person that will, follow up on the concerns of the citizens, because it's not about getting elected in the next 4 years. It's about improving. If you do a good job, that's when we should reelect people, when they do a good job, not just based on, other issues. I mean, that's just the way I feel, but that's
Okay.
me.
I'll agree. I'll agree with that. I'll vote for that idea. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for being on today. We'll put this up on podcast and the video, and I hope lots of people will watch it on our, they can also find this on our site, urbanlifetraining.org. We have it, and visionroot.org. So, and on any podcast platform, they're able to look for Richard Urban Show, and they'll find your interview if you want to, point people to hear it. And so I thank you again for coming on. I'm your host, Richard Urban. We're coming from historic Harpersbury, West Virginia. Do be blessed, and we will see you next time.